Yes, ladies and gentlemen, apparently there's a second season to Fake Kaleid Prisma Illya, and this one is called 2wei? It's wordplay on the German word 2, which means 2. But because I hate unironic leet speak, which replaces letters with numbers, I'm going to pronounce it 2wei. If you spell something stupidly, I'll pronounce it stupidly. Anyways, to give you a brief recap of last season, this is a Fate series that is completely different from all the others. The Holy Grail War isn't a thing, Masters and Servants aren't a thing, and all heroic spirits have been confined to class cards, which means that the heroic spirits no longer do the fighting, but our main characters now can include the cards, which allows them access to the heroic spirit's noble phantasm, or they can install the cards, which means that they can take on the form and attributes of said servant. Also, this is now a magical girl anime, and Ruby just will not stop talking about it.
Magical girls, magical girls, magical girls, magical girls, magical girls, magical girls, shut the hell up!
Thank you, Rin. There are a lot more problems that I didn't cover in the recap, but don't worry, the problems in this season are back and they get even worse. But that said, maybe we'll get some even more awesome fight sequences like we did in the last one. Let's find out. This is Fake Kaleid Prisma Illya 2wei. The season starts with Miyu showing up at Illya's house. They have monitor duty this morning, so she's here to pick Illya up. And we almost get a repeat of the last episode of the last season, and Illya almost kisses Miyu again. How many times are they gonna do this joke? Didn't Miyu learn from last time? They head off to school. Nothing unusual. Tatsuko shows up wearing an air tube because she's really excited for summer.
You guys have to bring the teeniest bikinis you've got!
I feel the need to remind everybody again that these characters are just 11 or 12 years old. Now, that line was innocent enough as a joke, but keep that in the back of your head for now. It'll come into play later, I promise. Tatsuko's still being annoying, so Nanaki decides to calm her down. So after that bit of tomfoolery, we get a flashback to last season before Illya gets a flash of her own. A strange feeling starts to well up in her, but it doesn't currently go anywhere. We get some filler, and we see the girls sharing ice cream. When Illya and Miyu decide to do the same, everybody says that they're getting a little too close and start making fun of them. What the heck, man? Some friends you are. While walking home, Illya and Miyu get abducted by a limo, and they speed away. Inside, Rin and Luvia explain that they have a new assignment and need help. Lord Elmloy II has tasked them with finding and repairing the magic ley lines, which were damaged by the distortions from the mirror world. The first stop is Ryudo Temple. Where's Kojiro Sasuke at? We all know he can't leave that temple gate. They take a detour off the stairs, and Rin and Luvia fall into a swamp. Illya and Miyu have to transform to get them out. After that little detour, they find a cave and start the ritual to repair the ley lines. After the mana flow is finished, the cave starts to collapse. Illya installs the Archer card and uses the Ro Aya's shield to block falling rocks, but there's an unintended side effect. Somehow, installing the card while on the magic ley line causes Illya to split into two different people. And the second one looks like her Archer form, but with tanner skin and pinkish hair. We pick back up the next day, and Illya's horoscope says that she's going to have a really bad day. Illya is worried about the predictions, and Ruby says that she can predict the future more accurately than some TV horoscope. She starts printing out predictions, and slips of paper come out of nowhere.
Why is there paper coming out of your ass?
A flower pot almost hits Illya, and the rest of Ruby's following predictions come true shortly after, including her almost getting hit by a truck, getting chased by dogs, and getting electrified. So needless to say, when she gets to school, she's not feeling so hot. Miyu takes her to the nurse's office.
Don't bother coming in unless you can offer me a more life-threatening injury.
Oh, hello, Karen. Good to see you. For those who don't know, Karen is the daughter of the primary antagonist of Fate Stay Night, Kirei Kotsubine, who is a fake priest and assassin. Who thought it was a good idea to let her be a school nurse? That's like letting Mr. Krabs run a school cafeteria.
It's the appetizer!
Anyway, after that little bit of grim encouragement, Illya and Miyu recap that the new Archer Illya clone thing ran away, and then she almost gets hit in the face by a soccer ball that explodes.
What's wrong? Did your organs fall out?
Of course not!
That's too bad.
Remind me to never visit that school. Illya starts heading home, but someone's got her in their sights. It starts raining arrows as Archer Illya cuts her off.
I'll just have to kill you!
The Illya clone attacks them, and they flee the city to prevent civilians from getting caught in the crossfire. Once they're away from the city, they resume the fight. But for some reason, Illya's prana output is extremely low. Miyu takes on the Archer, and then she grabs Miyu and then starts making out with her rather forcefully. Did I read that right? Is this the show's script or is this somebody's fanfiction? I'm not even joking. We have 11-year-old girls swapping spit, and the evil Illya... No, I'm not actually going to show it in the video, and I'm pretty sure that the FBI agent who's spying on me is very concerned about what I'm watching.
You just took away Miyu's first kiss with my face!
So does the last episode of Season 1 just not count in this case? Are we just pretending that didn't happen? So, Illya manages to fight off her evil twin by slashing her clothes off.
I can't really fight without my clothes, but don't get too comfortable, 'cause I'll kill you if you let your guard down.
After she leaves, the real Illya and Miyu head home.
They were right when they said cancers would have the worst luck today.
Yeah, this series isn't doing very well. Later at Luvia's place, they discuss a plan to capture this Dark Illya. They lure her out using a really obvious trap, and none of their tactics seem to work against her.
Do me a favor and just die already!
And add that to the list of quotes that I'm going to need for later. She copies Berserker's axe sword, despite him not using it earlier in the series. At the end of the fight, they manage to trap her in a camouflage swamp that negates magic, so Dark Illya can't use her weapons. After a lot of childish gloating from Rin and Luvia, Evil Illya is finally captured. The episode ends with Kiritsugu and Airi talking to each other. Airi can sense that Illya is getting into trouble again.
Motherly instinct.
Later, they have the Evil Illya tied up in Luvia's basement.
Chapter 5, torture!
Not yet, Gordy, but I wish. She reveals that she just wants to kill the real Illya and claims that she actually is Illya.
Kuro means dark, so we'll just call you Kuro.
Okay, so Kuro wants to kill Illya. Rin plants a blood seal on Kuro, which makes it that whatever pain and damage Illya suffers, Kuro will also feel, but not the other way around.
You've just become Iliasville's permanent body slave.
I don't even know what to say on that one. I think Kuro already does enough on her own, so I'm just going to give that one a pass for now. The plan is to keep Kuro locked in the basement, and Rin gives Illya the Lancer card as a means of self-defense. Illya comes home and finds Kuro being all chummy with Shiro.
Illya, what are you talking about? Why are you asking me that?
So Shiro thinks that Kuro is Illya, despite her now being extremely tan and having a different eye color, and Ruby tries again to get Illya to admit that she's crushing on Shiro. Whether or not it's true, Illya starts beating herself up to hurt Kuro and get her away from Shiro. Rin and Luvia come over and spend a minute ogling over Shiro before taking Kuro back to Luvia's place. Shiro then finds Illya in the foyer and is still oblivious to what's going on.
Your skin doesn't look so dark all of a sudden.
You're an idiot! The original Shiro was a little slow and dense at times, but you're about as bright as a wet match in a dark cave. And then suddenly out of nowhere, Miyu latches on to Shiro.
My brother.
Oh, hello again, obvious foreshadowing. It's been a long time, hasn't it? The next morning, Luvia was waiting for Shiro with her limo, but Shiro already left for the morning, and she takes Illya to school instead. When they get there, it seems that Kuro's been causing more trouble.
How can you not remember forcing all three of us to make out with you? You stole my first kiss.
Is everybody in the show an idiot? 4 people who see Illya on a daily basis don't even say anything when she shows up with tan skin and different eye color, and now when she shows up looking normal, as pale as a vampire, they're just gonna go with it? They're not even gonna question why she looked different earlier? So they chase after her, and Miyu tries to slow them down. Illya finds Kuro on the roof, forcing herself on another girl.
I guess I can't get very much out of normal people, no matter how many I drain.
It turns out that Kuro is a being that relies on mana to stay alive. Kuro can drain mana from people by kissing them and by doing other acts. She mentions that Miyu seems to give her the most power, though. Illya transforms, ready to fight, and Miyu and the Pursuers make it to the roof and find Illya in her magical girl outfit.
My name is Chloe von Einsburn, Ilya's cousin.
Her cover story is that the reason she kisses everybody is that she's from another country, and that's just their way of saying hello. So for now, Kuro is going to try to exist as a normal person as well. The next day at school, Illya is still upset about the whole Kuro thing, and of course, Kuro ends up being transferred to Illya's class. The girls that Kuro kissed yesterday are still mad, and they challenge Kuro to a game of dodgeball. Kuro knocks them out quite easily. Illya then switches sides, saying that she wants her normal life back. Kuro hits Illya in the face, but they both get hurt because of the shared pain, and they end up in the nurse's office. Karen is still bored and offers nothing but creepiness. Shiro visits Illya in the infirmary, and Miyu is sad, missing her brother. The episode ends with a monologue from Karen, which describes the main characters as the 3 problem children. Next episode, Shiro's about to get a bath when Illya blows up the bathroom while training. They go next door, and Luvia lets them use her bath, because Shiro's there. As you can imagine, this is the obligatory fan service bathhouse episode of the anime. Yeah, almost every anime has them nowadays. The girls use one bath, while Luvia instructs her butler, August, to give Shiro a separate bath and to take one as well. The girls get to the main bath, and Illya finds Kuro already in there.
My goodness, did you get a sunburn, Illya?
And everyone still thinks that Kuro's Illya.
Allow me to wash your back for you.
Creepy butler is creepy. Kuro's getting chummy with the family, so Illya blasts her, and then we cut back to the butler being creepy again. If someone saw just these few frames being repeated without context, you know what it looks like. Rin and Luvia join Illya and Miyu in the bath to talk about Kuro. Rin says that the Archer card is missing and that their only goal is to find it. Illya brings up that she wants to go back to her normal life, and that really sets Kuro off.
That decision doesn't only affect you. I know what you two really want. The cards. A card's right in front of you.
That's right. Kuro is the physical manifestation of the Archer class card. She attacks Illya, blowing a hole in this bathroom too, and then runs off. Later at school, Illya's friends mention that her birthday is coming up.
So, we were thinking it might be fun to go to the beach on your birthday and celebrate while we're there.
Keep this in mind for later. I know I keep saying that a lot, but just remember it. It'll come back later. After school, Miyu says that she's got something to take care of, and she goes to meet Kuro. Kuro can tell that something's off with Miyu too, saying that she's not from around here. Kuro then says that she's never going to get along with Illya, and they start fighting again. Episode 6 picks up where that one left off. Miyu installing Saber, and the fight starting. Kuro compares herself to Illya, saying that they have the same abilities, like card installs. Illya shows up, and then Kuro attacks her, but suddenly... a card literally crashes the fight, and Irisville steps out. Kuro lashes out at Irie, but she's been using too much mana and has exhausted herself.
Come here, Illya. But before you do, you need to be punished.
Holy crap! Remind me to never piss off Mama Irie. Irisville then lays the smackdown on Illya too. While she's knocked out, Illya has a vision in which she sees herself as a baby.
And when you wake up, you'll be born all over again.
Rin and Luvia did some research, and they find out that Illya has an abnormal amount of mana, hence why she's so powerful. They give a brief history of the Ainsburns, and Irie explains how the Holy Grail War used to be a thing, and Illya and Kuro were supposed to be the vessels for the Holy Grail. Okay, here's where it gets tricky, but this is the explanation as best I understand it. Kuro was Irie's first child and the original version of Illya, but because Irie didn't want to force her daughter to become the Holy Grail, and because the Ainsburn family are made of homunculi, they reset Kuro and she became Illya, and her soul was trapped. When Illya was at the Magic Ley Line, Kuro was able to physically manifest because of the transformation Illya was undergoing, in addition to the high amount of magical energy. Irie reveals that the Ainsburns are all gone and the Holy Grail War isn't going to happen, so they won't have to become the Holy Grail. Kuro is running out of mana and she starts to disappear.
Grant your own wishes! You said yourself you were the Holy Grail, didn't you? I want to live!
So, through some magic deus ex machina, Kuro survives but still has a finite mana supply, when she could have just wished to be a human being instead. So that means that they have to keep the lowly Yuri element in things. Great job, guys. Yeah, great job. Now if you'll excuse me for a moment. Hello, FBI. So, Irie introduces Kuro to the family as Illya's cousin, and she starts living with them. Episode 7. Shiro wakes up to find Kuro next to him, and she's in her underwear. Shiro somehow still thinks that this is Illya, and the real Illya comes in, finds them in the same bed together, and decides to slap Shiro, despite Kuro being the one who's causing trouble. Okay, this is what I meant by Shiro abuse. He keeps getting punished for things that aren't his fault, and it only gets worse. So we fast forward to the school, and they're in a cooking class, and they're baking pound cake today. Kuro and Illya want to give their cakes to Shiro to win his affection. Kuro takes all the good cooks, and Illya gets the incompetent ones. Tatsuko thinks they're making hamburger steak. So it starts smoothly enough until Tatsuko puts nutmeg in the mix.
You can't have hamburger steak without nutmeg.
They tie her up in plastic wrap to keep her out of trouble. Now they're out of ingredients. And Kuro makes a wedding cake, in addition to the normal pound cake. The cooking contest is overly dramatic, and Illya decides to drown the nutmeg with cocoa powder instead. They add more ingredients, like cinnamon and honey, and they finish it with dried fruit. And then right at the end, Tatsuko adds breath mints.
Wanted to give it minty fresh flavor.
Both cakes are presented to Shiro, and he gives his review. Predictably, Kuro's wins because Tatsuko ruined Illya's cake twice, but he still declares Illya the winner because he could tell it was made with love. He's reminded of a time when he screwed up while cooking, but Illya ate it anyway because Shiro made it, and sappy cliche is sappy. Shiro gives Illya a kiss on the forehead, and then he gets smacked with a vacuum cleaner.
You had better watch yourself, mister.
The next day, he wakes up with Kuro next to him again, and gets smacked again.
I think we need to figure out some boundaries for Kuro.
If you know that it's Kuro causing the problem, then why are you slapping Shiro, your big brother who you may or may not have a crush on? Irisville then decides to lay down the family hierarchy, and says that Illya is Kuro's big sister. Then they make some references to characters that appear in Fate Grand Order and Tsukihime. Kuro and Illya then argue about who is technically older.
I wish Dad would come home soon.
If he did, it might be a bad thing for Illya and Irie. When they get to school, the friends discuss having a birthday party for Illya, and it turns out that Kuro and Miyu have the same birthdays as Illya. The rest of the episode is just a bunch of nonsense about Illya taking advice from her friends on how to be a big sister, so she gets a new hairstyle, she acts mean, but with a caring undertone, and then douses Kuro and Pepsi. Doesn't work at all. Later that day, Kuro reveals that her mana supply is running extremely low, and that Illya's kisses give her more mana than anybody else. Irisville is just eavesdropping on the whole conversation. 8th episode, we get a new character, Bazette. She arrives in Japan and is heading to Fuyuki. Rin and Luvia are concerned about Kuro living with Illya's family since she's not trying to pull any stunts. Irisfield shows up to check out the school Illya goes to, and they agree to show her around because she's Shiro's mom. They spend the day spying on the school, and Kuro spots them and tells them to leave.
Bye! Love you! Now beat it!
Later, Luvia and Reen think it'd be a good idea to check on the progress of the ley lines, and Reen finds out something of great importance while Miyu is out pastry shopping. Bazette shows up at Luvia's place, and she's after the class cards. Okay, Saber Alter vs. Archer Illya set the bar really high last season. Let's see how this season follows up with its big climatic fight sequence. After exchanging some pleasantries, the fight begins. This battle is incredible. August is wielding knives and machine guns, while Bazette is a brawler and Luvia is a master jewel mage. They tear up the mansion, using the surroundings as weapons, dropping chandeliers, and throwing wardrobes. Bazette manages to take everything they can dish out and give just as much punishment despite being unarmed. August throws a flashbang, but gets put through a wall. Luvia then runs into a room full of gems. All of them are magic gems. Bazette still powers through it, and Rin shoots her in the back with a gem and some Ganders, and then Luvia blows up a handful of gems at point blank. Next door, Illya and Kuro finally hear all the commotion and head over. They find the mansion on fire and find Bazette emerging from the wreckage. So we go from this whole big battle to Miyu still pastry shopping. And we see Karen on the phone. Apparently she knows who Bazette is and knew that she was going to be there. Back at the mansion, Kuro and Illya begin their fight against Bazette. Bazette easily overpowers them. The fight with Kuro is a walk in the park because it turns out that Bazette was the one who defeated the original Archer and Lancer, gaining their class cards. They can't gain the upper hand against Bazette, and Illya traps her arms and shields and blasts her point blank. We cut to Reen and Luvia and August, who are still alive but badly hurt. Despite Ilya's best efforts, Bazette manages to break out of the shields and barely dodges the blast, but drops her class cards in the process. After punching through a chunk of cement, she knocks Illya down. Kuro gets back up, but she's suffering the shared pain with Illya, and she tries to distract Bazette so that Illya can get the class cards that Bazette dropped. Bazette beats Kuro down again, and then is about to break Ilya's hands. Oh, hi, Miyu! Glad you could make it! I hope your pastry shopping went well. Oh, us? Oh, no, we're just getting destroyed by the Steel Enforcer over here. No big, no big. Miyu takes the rider class card and installs it, and flies in on a Pegasus. After taking Bazette for a ride, she uses Medusa's Mystic Eyes to stun Bazette and prepares to dive bomb her. Bazette then breaks out her weapon called, Fraggle Rock! Fraggle Rock? Fraggle Rock! Fraggle Rock. So, Fraggle Rock, this little ball thing, is an anti-Noble Phantasm counter weapon, and if Noble Phantasm is used, it rewinds time and pierces the heart of whoever is attacking. That's how she beat Lancer and Archer. Bazette beats Miyu to submission and then goes after Kuro because she has the Archer class card inside her. Illya gets back up and saw that there was blood on the back of Bazette's neck. They then try to pincer attack Bazette, Kuro attacking with a volley of swords while Illya dashing in for a sneak attack. Bazette gets cut up but is undeterred. She kicks down Ilya's attack from behind. Illya swings her wand at Bazette's pocket where the cards are being held.
Ruby and Cloud!
Bazette sledgehammer punches Illya, only for her to disappear, leaving behind Ruby. The assassin card gave her a decoy, and Illya manages to touch the back of Bazette's neck. The Gondor range shot was implanted with the blood seal, just like the one that was on Kuro, so now any pain Illya feels will be transferred to Bazette as well. Reen shows up to break up the fight, explaining what just happened. It turns out that the seal doesn't transfer death, however. She was just bluffing to both Kuro and Bazette about that. She then shows Bazette the map of the ley lines, and then shows the small blank space.
This would be the 8th class card.
Bazette leaves to report back to her higher-ups and takes 4 of the class cards with her. The next day, Reen and Luvia discuss about how to go about collecting the 8th class card, which is buried underground. So that means the story's not over yet. And our episode ends with Illya feeling grateful that she has all these fantastic things in her life, and she realizes that her life is normal enough. She still has a family, she still has friends, she still goes to school, but in the last bit of foreshadowing, Kuro remembers Miyu saying something.
An 8th card. It shouldn't exist.
Well, I suppose we'll find that out next season. So how does 2wei compare to the original Fate Kaleid liner? Remember when I said that it felt like a fanfiction? My opinion hasn't changed. In many ways, this season is worse than the last season, but it's also better than last season too. The introduction of Kuro was really cool in terms of her design and how she came to be, but with the whole monotransfer thing, again, it makes the whole thing uncomfortable. Regardless of why she does it, it's still 11 or 12-year-old girls French kissing, and I feel dirty just watching it. But her little development arc was pretty well played until she became part of the regular cast where everyone has a crush on Shiro, and everyone likes to burn time on stuff that doesn't further the story or barely furthers any character development. The 2 best things about this season were August, despite him being creepy, and Bazette. Honestly, the last 3 episodes of this season alone almost make the whole season worth watching. That fight sequence, plus the plot development for the 8th card, actually have me excited for the next season. We have our goal in mind and the bar's been raised. It can only get better from here. right?